So guys, let's start. Today, Tony Slagov will show you how to add a custom payment gateway integration in XCard 5. This is the third webinar of the series of developers webinars for XCard 5. You can find the records of the previous webinars in XCard knowledge base. This one will be uploaded to our YouTube channel too. Also, Tony has already prepared an article for you with different pieces of code he uses. So right now he will show you how he's coding this integration. After his presentation, you will be able to ask your questions using the chat window at the left bottom corner. When Tony will be presenting his material, I will temporarily hide the chat session. But when he finishes, there will be a questions and answers session, and you will be able to post your questions there. Alternatively, you can also send your questions to our email. It's alliance@x-card.com. This is it. So you have two ways. Use whichever you consider more convenient. And now, Tony, will you please start with your presentation?
Hello guys, just one moment. I wanted to share the document. Okay, no problem. I will. Hello guys. Today's webinar is about creating payment gateways, and I've already prepared the doc, which will be a guide for today's webinar. You can access it if you go to our knowledge base. It's ke.xcard.com. Then you should go to the webinar folder there, and you need to find the latest article, webinar 3 payment gateway creation. You can look at this document during webinar to follow me. Okay, during this webinar, I will be creating an integration with Dwolla payment gateway. And the purpose of this webinar is to show you that creating payment gateways in XCard 5 is not a rocket science. It's quite easy and straightforward. I chose Dwolla just because they have really clean documentation, and it was and XCard 5 has been integrated with Dwolla yet, so it will be win-win because it will be easy to create this integration on one hand, and on the other hand, after the webinar in several weeks, we will have Dwolla in XCard 5. Okay, we get started. A few moments about Dwolla, because I believe after the webinar is over, you will want to try the same process yourself. And in this case, you first need to register an account in Dwolla. It's at uatdwolla.com, and this is the test environment for Dwolla. I've already have an account. It's for me. I'll show you how it looks like. Pretty easy. Once you are registered, you don't need to specify any real info here. And once you are registered, you will get Dwolla ID. It's one of the credentials for Dwolla. The next thing to do for you is to create test customer for Dwolla, and you can do this at the sandbox.uatdwolla.com. You can create test customer account via C-Suite. This is called test environment, no real transactions, and once you are creating a test account, you can specify not real details. Once you created an account, you have to go to sandbox uatdwolla.com and create test customer accounts by uploading CSV file. I've already created one test customer here. And after that, you should create an application for receiving money at this URL. Tricky thing is that you don't have this URL anywhere in the interface, only in documents. And the only thing you have to specify for application is its name. I've already created an application here, and after that, they will give you a key and a secret. So your Dwolla ID, API key and API secret is the only things you need to know to be able to set up an integration. I'm checking back whether everything is okay or not. Okay, guys, assume you can hear me now, and there is no delay when I was speaking. Can you hear me well right now? Okay, okay, thank you guys. I'm really sorry for this problem happened. Okay, thank you guys, thank you. Okay, so we got sandbox account and API results, and the next thing to do is to create an empty module. You can do this according to the guide in our knowledge base. I've already created integration. I've already created an empty module. It's with ID Tony and module ID and Dwolla. As you can see, it's totally empty, just main PHP file. Finally, we need to understand how Dwolla works before we get started in order to design the integration. And Dwolla, as I said, has really great documentation with code snippets, and this is typical integration with Dwolla. You are including the library, you are creating REST client. What we should do, so customer is at the checkout page. They send post request to Xcard. Xcard collect order information and it sends it to Dwolla. Dwolla returns checkout URL to Xcard, and Xcard redirects customer through their browser to Dwolla's site. Once customer is at the Dwolla site, they can process the payment, the PIN code in order to process it, and then Dwolla will send return URL to the client's browser, and this return URL will call Xcard. So Xcard will decide whether the transaction was properly processed, and then it will show thank you page to the customer, or if the transaction failed, then it will show payment is failed error message. So what we have to do in our integration, we need to, just a second, I'm closing these malicious pages. Okay, can you hear me right now, right? Okay. Good, thank you. So now we understand that Xcard should send some request to Dwolla, get checkout URL from Dwolla, then redirect customer to this checkout URL, and then process return URL from Dwolla. The first step for each payment gateway integration is to create payment gateway class. It's located in the module payment processor folder, and the name of this file is Dwolla PHP. So I'm creating it. I'm creating a new folder, model payment processor, and then I'm creating file Dwolla PHP. Its content is as follows. As you can see, it's pretty empty. The only meaningful thing here is the Dwolla class extends Fixed-Light model payment-based web-based. It means that this payment gateway is assumed to redirect customer to the payment gateway side to process the transaction, like PayPal standard or after SIM, when payment is happened on the payment gateway side. Next thing to do is to create install YAML file for the module, creating it. Install YAML file is used to push some values to the database at the moment that the module is installed. So this install YAML contains 4 records. First says that there is a payment method called Dwolla, and in English it's called Dwolla. It's fields service name and translations. This payment method is handled by the class module Tony Dwolla model payment processor Dwolla. This is the file we created, this one. And it's type C. Type C means that this is a payment method. This is credit card processing method. Others types can be offline method when there is no credit card to process. Alternative payment methods like express checkout, when you don't even need to go to the express checkout to process the transaction in this case, or all-in-one solution like PayPal standard or Stripe, when merchant doesn't need to have an account in the PayPal, they can specify just email to start accepting payments. All these parameters affect where exactly our payment method will be located in the admin area. In our case, it will be located in the accepting credit card online payment gateways. It will be listed here. Okay, so once we created install YAML file, and as I said, it only runs when you install the module, you have to push these values to the database right now. And I'm doing it via Next SDK, get maker load YAML, and then pop to the YAML file. Okay, install YAML has been pushed to the database. Just checking in about whether you can hear me or not. Okay, I believe everything is fine, right? Okay, thank you guys. So we created the basic payment file and install YAML. Now it's time to get Dwolla library because as I showed you, they have really clean documentation and they use Dwolla REST client there. So I want to use it as well. So I'm going to GitHub and I'm downloading their repository as a zip file. I've already downloaded it, so I just need to copy their lib folder into my modules folder. It will go like this: downloads, Dwolla, PHP master, lib, and goes to classes, slides, module, don't for CPA minus R called. This by checking yes, lib folder is there, and now we need to implement two main routines of payment gateway: sending initial request and then processing of return of the customer. Generally, there are three core routines which is widely used in almost every payment gateway. First step is always required. You need to send initial request, and sometimes it's straightforward, like in authorize.net, you simply submitting form to the URL, and the customer will submitting this form will redirect customer to authorize.net site. Sometimes payment gateway will send a callback to store for additional information or for additional data of the order. You can see callbacks in PayPal or in Google Checkout. They ask for shipping methods, for instance, or taxes. And then each payment gateway must be able to process customer return to the store. First thing to do is to understand how Xcard5 sends requests in web-based methods. There is a method called do initial payment, and we will look into its implementation right now. So model, payment, base, web-based, PHP for doing initial payment. As you can see, this method will ask our payment method about what method should be used for submitting get or post, which URL we should submit customer. In our case, it will be Dwolla checkout URL, and our method will be get. Body is the number of input fields which is going to be submitted to that URL. In case of authorize.net, there is a bunch of fields that must be submitted to the authorize.net site, but in our case, we don't need to submit any field there. So sample form must return true, because if it's not, then this code will not work out. So in our case, we need to get form URL here, input it, submit this form to that URL, and so let's do it. Our code for sending request will be as follows. I will explain each step there. So I'm copying it in. Okay. The main method here is get form URL. What we are doing here is we just follow Dwolla's guide. We include their library. We get Dwolla settings. This is my method I created. As you can see, Dwolla ID, API key, and API secret is hard-coded there. Don't worry, we will create the settings form later on. So we are getting Dwolla settings, initializing Dwolla REST client, then starting new session. It's all about how it's been shown in the Dwolla documentation. Then we are adding our products, and then we get gateway URL as it shows. Finally, we are returning checkout URL as we should do for real. Okay, besides that, we have several more methods here. First is get form fields. It returns empty array, and we must implement get form fields method just because our parent requires it. It's an abstract method in the X-like model payment-based web-based, so we must implement it. It returns empty array. Assemble form body returns true, as I said before, and get form method returns get because by default it returns post. Another thing here is how we're generating get return URL with Dwolla. We are calling it like get return URL. First argument false, and the second argument is true. Why do we need it? If we call get return URL without any parameter, it will return URL like this. It will be target equal payment return. The TXN ID name will be TXN ID, and there will be no TXN ID equal transaction number. First, I need to explain why what is TXN ID name equal TXN ID. TXN ID name is a field that defines what parameter contains the transaction ID. Once we are sending transaction to Dwolla side, we are registering it in the database, and it has transaction ID. Once we return from the Dwolla side, we need to understand what transaction we are changing. So having the TXN ID name parameter is telling Xcard in which field we are looking for a transaction ID number. In order to include transaction ID into the field, into the return URL, we must call get return URL with the second argument as true. First argument defines what should be put into the TXN ID name parameter. If it's false or not specified, then default transaction ID name is used, TXN ID. But some payment methods return transaction ID in every single return URL. This case, for instance, if we look at the typical success return query from Dwolla, it contains transaction ID in the order ID field. But if there is a failed return URL from Dwolla, then order ID is not passed. So in this case, Xcard will not know what transaction this return URL for, and will not be able to process it. Okay, so we are done with this part. The only thing left is to specify actual Dwolla ID, API key, and API secrets. I have them saved here. So I'm just putting them in. Oh yeah, there is while I was integrating Xcard 5 with Dwolla, I found a bug in Dwolla when they are generating return URL for failed transaction. They don't put first end symbol. That's why typical return URL for failed query is like this: fake field checkout ID, and there must be and symbol between D and C, but it's not there. That's why there is no fake field. It will the TXN ID will be not just 16. It will be 16 checkout ID, and there will be a problem with processing. But since we are not using checkout ID anywhere, we can work around it. Okay, so we are done with sync requests. And if we rebuild cache right now, there will be a payment method Dwolla, and it will be able to send requests to Dwolla and Dwolla will be able to return checkout URL. We will be able to redirect customer to that checkout URL. We will not be able to process return query from Dwolla. Now we need to implement process return method so we could process return of the customer properly. This implementation is pretty straightforward as well. How it works: once Xcard receives a request to the target equal payment return, it will try to find transactions by fields TXN ID, TXN ID name, and TXN ID. If it fails to find the transaction, then there will be an error which will say that we cannot find the transaction. And if Xcard manages to find the transaction, then it will pass this transaction to the process return method of the payment gateway which initiated this transaction. So we are passing transaction. We can get all fields in the get request by calling xlike core request get instance, and we are checking if status field in the request is completed, then our transaction succeeded. If there is no status parameter in get query is not completed, then our transaction failed. So we are defining status and then setting this status to this transaction. Besides that, if there is an error, we want to register this error in the order history, and also we want to show this error to the customer. This is the method how we can register this error in the order history, and this is how we can show this error message to the customer so they could understand what they need to do in order to successfully run this transaction. I believe this is it. So we created sending information to the gateway, methods for sending customer to the gateway, and we created method to process a return of this customer back to the store. So now we need to rebuild the cache, and we will check our integration works. Second. And making sure that the rebuilding process will start well. Okay, it goes well, and while cache is being rebuilt, I want to check how it goes. Okay, there is no question. That's why I'll answer a question which was sent by a hater before the webinar, he actually sent two questions. First, it was about what if I want to display a custom field, particularly for this payment gateway, and then use this information in request to the payment gateway. Unfortunately, I cannot provide code samples right now, but I'll explain you the idea of what you need to do. A good example of what you're trying to achieve is X-like model payment processor check. As you can see, there is a method get input template, and it specifies these additional fields which is required by this particular payment gateway. The code of this template is straightforward. I'll show you. So we go to skins, admin, checkout. Excuse me. Sorry. Skins. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not admin. It's default. Plus checkout. eCheck TPL. This is plain HTML code. There's nothing, and as you can see, field name is passed as payment, and this is typical name for post form. After you specified this template, here you will be able to access all this information via request. This will be exactly the same via this object. So in this request, you will have access to these custom fields, which is shown particularly for this payment gateway. Okay, so you can get this check processor as an example for achieving your task. Besides that, I'm preparing a section in knowledge base dedicated to creating payment gateways. It will be available in a couple of weeks. And there I will provide code samples for this task particularly. Okay, so we rebuild the cache, and now we need to add our Dwolla payment method to the store. Now there is no search field, but it will be there. There will be a search field in this section in 516. So it will be easier to find payment methods you need. We are activating Dwolla. Now we are going to check the checkout pages. First, we're going to run successful transaction. Add the product, going to checkout, setting up delivery method. Payment method is Dwolla, and I'm placing an order. So now we are on the Dwolla side. I'm logging in as a test customer. Getting in, I'm specifying everything is good. I'm inputting my PIN code. We can submit, and now it redirects me to the return page. You can see localhost testing it. I'm seeing thank you page because everything was good. Now we are emulating that there is a problem with transaction. In our case, it will be that I'm going to order really expensive item, and I don't have enough money in the account. so Dwolla will not be able to process it. Everything same. I'm clicking this order. I'm going to Dwolla side, password. Everything is good. I'm writing my PIN. It's processing the return request, but now I'm seeing that there are insufficient funds for this transaction, and I was redirected back to the checkout. If we look at the order history, then you will see that this order is declined, and there is a message in order history which says that there are insufficient funds for this transaction. Okay, so the next step is to create a settings form for payment gateway, because if you are creating a commercial module, nobody ever accept that you are hard coding API credentials. For this, we need to create settings in our install YAML. So I'm going to install YAML file and maybe copy all over. As you can see, we just added 4 fields. It's settings for this payment method. It's Dwolla ID, and you can input anything into this field. API key, API secret, and mode. And mode has a default value as live. It means that by default, Dwolla is set in the live mode. Since we changed YAML file and install YAML, we need to push changes to the database. I pushed it. Now we are going to change Dwolla PHP, and there we are specifying that Dwolla has settings. Just by specifying method getSettings widget. There we have a path to the template that contains the description of how our settings should look like. Now we need to create this template. This we are going to scans, admin, modules, new folder, Tony, Dwolla, new file, config TPL, and again in our template file we are putting almost pure HTML code. Here we are specifying that Dwolla ID must be specified there, and if there is a setting specified, then it must be displayed in this field. So there is pretty straightforward. There is nothing to explain here. Just simple form. Finally, after this, we need to change our getDwolla settings method in Dwolla PHP file. So it would take settings from the database, not from the not hard-coded fields. So we are specifying the setting method here, and sandbox mode is on when so if mode is live, then sandbox mode is false. If it's something else, then sandbox mode is true. Besides that, even though it's enough to have settings for module. We are adding couple more methods just to improve admin UI. First, we are adding method isTestMode to show admin on the payment method list in the admin area that this particular payment method is in test mode, and it returns true when mode is not there. Also, we are specifying method is configured when it will show admin that payment method is not properly configured. To be properly configured, Dwolla must have Dwolla ID specified, API key, and API secret. All these fields must be specified for Dwolla payment to work correctly. So we are done here. Now we need to rebuild the cache and see the result. Yeah, check what's going on. Checking whether I have a syntax error here. If there's a syntax error, it will fail at the very first step. So there is no syntax error. And now I'm getting back to the chat. You see, okay, I will answer questions a little bit later. I'm just checking in that you can hear me properly. Now I'll answer a question asked by Peter earlier, and the question was, what if my payment module should contain several payment methods, and one must be credit card processing and the other is something like phone ordering? In this case, you can create several records in the install YAML. So if my YAML file looks like this, then Xcard will register two Dwolla methods in the Xcard, even though they are exactly the same. Example of implementation of such kind is module CDF money bookers. I'll show you install YAML. As you can see, there are a bunch of there's a bunch of payment methods, and all of them are exactly the same, but their marketing department decided to push different solutions to different types of customers. So the only thing they are different is their name, but it doesn't mean that you cannot describe several different payment methods in single YAML, and it will. Okay, cache is being rebuilt, and it's only. Oh yeah, one more. It's like it's not official, but we have a solution to reduce cache generation time, and it will be implemented in 5.2. I'm not going to announce 5.2 right now. Please stay tuned for official announcements. But we have a solution, but it requires the next major version. So we improved this area and waiting for the right moment to ship it. So we are almost there. We are finishing the process. And we are redirected back. As you can see, now our Dwolla is not active. Why? Because our isConfigured method says there is no Dwolla ID, there is no API key, there is no API secret. That's why it's not properly configured. Tony, please configure me properly. I'm putting my credentials there, and I'm setting that this is test mode. What I see, Dwolla is active, and now it shows me that the method is in the test mode. This is done by isTestMode method. So The final thing to do now is to check our integration, that it works exactly as it were. I'm reloading the page, and I'm going to try to place failed transaction because it's still a very expensive item in my cart. Logging in. Since we've been redirected to Dwolla side, it says that our API credentials were taken properly from the database. Again, I see the problem. Now I'm going to go to the cart. New cart. Removing this product and trying to add shipment. Check out and placing an order. I'm on the Dwolla side, so I'm logging in, and I'm putting the PIN code. Here we go. We have successfully placed order. I feel this is it for now. As I said, I'm preparing a doc to cover more information about creating payment methods, but you can still use the webinar document for your own purposes. If you have any questions, you're welcome to send them to alliance@xcard.com, and I will most likely cover them in the docs I'm preparing right now. So now I'm heading to the questions you sent via chat. Okay, so okay, what about the setting for the Dwolla account? If building a resume, it should not be heard. Yes, Mike, you're absolutely right. And yes, you're absolutely right. And I showed you how to create settings. Now, what if payment gateway has more than one payment method? Like, okay, I believe I answered this. I have the same question. How would this work with credit card transaction? Excuse me. I didn't get the question about. Excuse me. I'll just try to. Okay, to do like this. How would this work with a credit card transaction? I don't really get this question. Please give me more details so I could answer. How do we get the URL to this video? It will be published to the blog post later on. Also, it will be published to the knowledge base on the same page on this. Excuse me. Oh no, I cannot. It will be on this page, right on the top. So you will not miss it. Stay tuned for blog updates. Will it process the install YAML changes without pushing it once the cache is rebuilt? No. That's why you have to push YAML changes via next SDK. Shorter cache generation, yes. I know, guys, you're waiting for it. Can I restrain access to my payment gateway to the country the customer lives? I believe not yet. Yes, now country is not taken into account. But there are plans to add this possibility. You see that, right? The view card link from the checkout version didn't take it back. No, there's a problem because David, I clicked a home page and then I went to click card link. But while I've been doing it, I've been redirected to home page. You used Dwolla account, not a credit card. Yes, agree, but Dwolla supports accepting payments via credit card as well. Okay, so I believe I will wait for 2 more questions and we are done for today. I will wait for just a minute. But I believe nobody's typing. So I think
Mike is typing.
Okay. Mike. Okay, Mike. I appreciate that, Mike. Anyway, guys, if you feel there is a question you want to get answer to, just send us to alliance@expert.com and I will call you up after the webinar, or I will cover the question in the docs. Thank you guys for joining us today, and I'm transferring microphone to Xenia.
Okay, I would like to thank everyone for joining us. And as you may know, we are planning the series of more webinars for you developers. So if you have some particular topic which you would like to be covered, for example, developing a custom skin as it was previously, creating a custom payment gateway today, if you have some more interesting topic you would like Tony to cover, please feel free to email it to alliance@x-card.com or send a private message to either Tony or me on the forum. Use whatever means is convenient for you. Let us know your questions and we will be happy to help. So thank you so much for your time. Happy Llamas, David. Happy Llama, said Llama, mentally confused Llama. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Have a good day.